Hello and welcome. I can see people already starting to come in, and thank you for being very on time and early. So we'll give people a couple more minutes to join, and then we'll get started. In the meantime, hi Dennis. In the meantime, it would be great if you could start introducing yourselves in the chat, like Dennis and Arjun have already started to do. Let us know, are you e-residents? Where are you joining us from around the world? Do you have a business? Are you thinking about setting up a business in Estonia? And what are you hoping to learn from this webinar today? And once we have quite a few people in, which it's already looking like we're having, we'll get started. So we have quite a few people already saying hi from Italy, from Tunisia, from Kenya. Where are our Ukrainian friends at? Because we have some special guests here today from Ukraine to talk about e-residency from their perspectives. So I'm really hoping that we have some of their countrymen and women here to learn.
Orest is the only one from Ukraine.
So far, Orest is the only one. But luckily, don't worry. Hi, Dennis. There we go. We do have some Ukrainians. Don't worry if you're not from Ukraine. We will be covering general topics as well, and you'll find all the topics that we're talking about helpful. But we do have special guests from Ukraine, so we wanted to make sure that this was open for them. Okay, I think we can get started. So I'm going to share my screen so that I can introduce who we have here in the chat. Okay. So welcome to our monthly Q&A with the e-Residency team. I'm Hannah Brown, and this is my colleague Sergei, and we have some guests here from Payoneer and also an e-resident whose company is called Nomad Mania, which he will tell you more about very soon. I did it all without realizing. Okay, so as I said, I'm Hannah, head of content from the e-Residency team.
I'm Sergei. I'm a business development coordinator for Ukraine, for Italy, and for Poland.
And Orest, would you like to just quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yep. Hello, guys. Thanks for invitation. And my name is Orest. I'm from originally Ukraine, city of Lviv. I'm been myself a blogger for like over a decade and founded a few online ventures around it. One of those is the OMBIS OU, which is the e-residency company like founded in Estonia. And the recent establishment is Nomad Mania, which is a global travel tech company, which is like a different story because it's already founded within like 3 partners. So that's like another animal over here, and I would say a step forward in this direction. So we'll talk more about this soon.
Thank you. And I'll also turn over to Egor in a minute, but I just wanted to mention that Egor from Payoneer is joined by a few colleagues who are in the background helping to answer questions and chat with you in the chat and the Q&A tab. So if you have questions about banking and payments, please direct those questions to them. But I will now introduce Egor, and perhaps you can say a few words about yourself and Payoneer.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I'm happy to be present on today's event. We have been working with e-Residency for years. We even visited your office in Tallinn some years ago. This was too far to remember, but still have those memories. So yeah, my name is Egor. I'm actually head of sales at Payoneer. We are the team covering Ukrainian region. So our main task is to help Ukrainian exporters, both of products and of services, to export, to build the infrastructure, to run their business internationally, to work with their customers conveniently, and to actually speed up their payment flows, and the final end their earnings. So that's what we are doing in Ukraine. We have a kind of small team, I would say, because Payoneer at the whole is like 2,000 more people. like all over the world, but in Ukraine we have a small team of like up to 20 people from different departments, and sales team is a part of them. So today on this session from we have Sergei from my team who will be covering the questions, and we also have Natalia, who is representative of our marketing department. So she will be able to help as well if any related questions to her knowledge. So
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And we'll be hearing more from you later.
For sure.
Specifically about the products that Payoneer offers and how to get that set up for your businesses. Okay, so I'll just quickly cover the agenda for today. The Q&A will be in 3 parts with a sort of an addendum on the banking, which is a bit unusual for our monthlies, but something we're trying this month with Payoneer. So in the first part of the webinar, we'll talk about becoming an e-resident. What is e-residency for those of you who might not have heard much about it, who is eligible to become an e-resident and the process to apply. The second part of the Q&A will be talking about starting a company in Estonia, and here we'll be talking about the benefits, the basics, who can help you with your business formation and running your business, and also banking. And finally, we'll do a very short overview at the end of the webinar on taxation, and particularly on cross-border taxation. And in between each section, we'll break to do some questions. And I will also ask Orest to give more information about his experience as an e-resident after we talk about becoming an e-resident. And of course, Payoneer will talk about their product as well after in the banking section. So plenty of time for you to ask lots of questions, to get lots of answers to your questions. And please use the Q&A tab for that, and continue using the chat for networking. And the final thing, I just wanted a couple more things before I hand over to Sergei. With the slides that you see today, very pretty slides, tomorrow you will receive an email with a link to our website where you can download a copy of the slides. You will also be able to find a recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel. So if you would like to rewatch it, you're most welcome to do that after today. And finally, at the end of the webinar, there will be a feedback survey in your browser when you quit Zoom. Please take the less than 1 minute to answer the feedback survey. We do really look at the answers and take them into account when we're doing future webinars. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Sergei, and he can start talking about becoming an e-resident.
Perfect. Let's get into it. So let's start with the basics, right? For those of you who are not familiar with e-residency at all, then e-residency essentially is a digital ID that's issued by Estonian government to non-residents. So these non-residents can access Estonian digital public services. And so they can also sign documents with electronic signature. So essentially, e-residency is kind of like a digital key to your Estonian company. And also, e-residency hosts a global community of worldwide entrepreneurs, which is growing fast. We have more than 100,000 e-residents from 170 countries or even more, right? So then on the other hand, e-residency, it's not a travel document. It's not a real citizenship or residentship or visa. It's not going to help you to get a residentship or citizenship in Estonia. It does not affect your tax residency. And it will not help you to obtain a business banking account nor a personal banking account in one of the Estonian banks, okay? So again, e-residency is just basically an access to digital public services in Estonia and nothing else besides that, all right? So who can apply for e-residency? Well, pretty much everybody. So e-residency is granted to individuals, not to companies, especially individuals who are looking to get access to digital public services of Estonia. E-residency is not for Estonian citizens or residents because we have Estonian digital ID anyways. And today, Russian or Belarusian citizens cannot apply for e-residency. So why become an e-resident? Well, first of all, because with e-residency, you can register a company in Estonia, which is also in the European Union, and you can do it fully remotely. You just need a Wi-Fi access, basically. With e-residency, you can also sign documents with a digital signature, and you can run your business remotely, fully conveniently from anywhere. And also as an e-resident, you will join a community of, like I said, more than 100,000 people, like-minded people from around the world. And, you know, a couple of words about the community. Well, I guess we'll talk about it a little bit later as well, but this is where you can definitely find, you know, advice and perhaps some partners and people who can tell you more about e-residency as well. But the application process is very simple. You fill in the application on the website of eResidency. You pay a state fee, which is either 100 euros if you want to pick your eResidency card in Estonia, or it is 120 euros if you want to send it, if you want us to send it to you to one of the pickup locations around the world. You wait for approval, so you go through a background check by Estonian police. And like I said, the card is shipped to a pickup location where you have to go physically because you have to give in your fingerprints. So you can't send a friend to pick it up on your behalf. And the card gets activated basically within 24 hours from the pickup time. So the overall process takes, you know, it can be as fast as 3 weeks and up to 2 months of time. So the pickup locations are in every major city across Europe and in some distant locations as well. You can see the map of pickup locations on the website. And also when you fill out an application, then, you know, there will be a dropout list with all the pickup locations. But typically these are embassies of Estonia in different countries. So more than 40 locations. Be aware that, you know, travel may be required to a pickup location, and make sure that you have rights to enter this country if you're flying there to pick up a card. But let's pause for Q&A here.
Okay.
And if you have questions based on what I've spoken about, please put them in the chat or Q&A session, I guess, or section.
Yep.
And in the meanwhile, while you're putting your questions down, maybe Orest, you can tell a little bit about your experience as an e-resident.
Sure. I'm also happy to answer some questions in the live form. So if there is something, guys, just throw it in and we'll get straight to the business, as we say, without losing much time. So thanks, guys, for the slide. And yeah, my name is Orest. I'm from Ukraine. As you see on this map, these are the places I visit around our globe. Those are like the micro regions to make it more specific, you know, because someone can just go to Beijing and say like he was in China, but here, as you see, is like different points. So I'm pretty well traveled, and since the last probably like 15 years, visit over 130 countries around the world. So needless to say that my main aim is to make money online, to make it remotely, in order to continue fulfill my passion and the lifestyle which I was always dreaming on. And the way to do this were different online media projects, mostly in Ukraine. And as Ukraine being a country, let's say, a little bit aside from the global economic movements, be like Ukraine, even though it's a European country, it's outside of the EU. For a long time, PayPal, for example, was not there. Fortunately, the Payoneer is one of the these pioneering payment systems that made it to Ukraine. So my goal to join the e-residency was very pragmatic, I would say. I developed one of our products which required like a subscription-based model. Basically, clients would have to pay a recurring monthly fee. And in Ukraine, there was simply no feasible technical solution to make it possible. And here we're talking not only about payment itself, but also integration with like all the standard global platforms like WordPress, like Stripe, like different other solutions. So I thought like, okay, like what do I need to do it? Yeah, my final goal is obviously like to make business work. Yeah, but then you have to make a few steps and kind of roll it out, which brought me to eResidency. And the cycle was the following. I need online payments. In order to have online payments, I need access to international payment systems. In order to have international payment systems, I need to have a company somewhere in the jurisdiction where those things are allowed. And in order to have a company in these jurisdictions, meaning in the European Union, you have to live there, you have to be a resident, or in the case of Estonia, an e-resident. Yeah, so this was basically a solution for me to get access to like economic activity without actually transferring my entire life to one of the countries there. Yeah, so I believe for those guys that I see are from all over the globe, e-residency is a great way to get access to the global market without actually immersing yourself and without moving all your life somewhere into the Western world, yeah, or Singapore or what else there, like Hong Kong. Or Hong Kong now is declining in this direction, obviously, and so on. Yeah, so this was my aim. Yeah, so that's how I got to the e-residency, and yeah, I became an e-resident in 2020. So basically, I just followed the entire process that Sergei explained over here. It was very straightforward. It took me 6 weeks, I believe so, from the first application until I actually founded a company and got access to all the payment tools. That was the initial necessity for me, right? And then things were working smoothly. I've been conducting my business and everything the way I want it to be. And obviously, you always have to develop. You always have to think, what can you improve in your own activity, in your life? And the business is an integral part of it. So one of the recent ventures that I got engaged with basically is forming another company. And once we were thinking with our business partners where to set up like a location for our next companies, obviously we had like a few different options, considering one of my partner is from Poland, another one is from Greece. So anywhere within the European Union was like a very logical solution. However, there are different taxation systems in each of the countries, you know. And I'm not a resident of EU, I'm a resident of Ukraine. And the fact that we are traveling actively. So, for example, one of my business partners is one of the most traveled persons in the world. Like, he visited every country in the world twice. Another guy is mostly like the, you know, in-house person who is responsible for IT, and I'm somewhere in between. So we just decided, okay, to go with the e-residency again. And considering that I already had a very positive experience with my first company, I persuaded my business partners to become e-resident first, yes, and then all together we founded a company in Estonia, absolutely remotely. So you can imagine, like, we were signing all these digital papers from 3 different continents, from Asia, from Europe, and from North America, while moving around the globe at the time. Things were smooth, the same, like within a month, I believe. So we did everything fine. And yeah, now we are actually starting to figure out how to continue moving forward. Some first money are coming in, but obviously there is still a long way to go to make it like a great, successful company story. But I'm pretty sure like the tools which are here available is just making things much more simple than, you know, dragging all these papers, signing. And I could even imagine what a nightmare it would be for us to meet at certain locations to make like some corporate agreements. Yeah, like so far since founding the company, we didn't meet each other personally, even though we are good friends. But, you know, since like last few months, the entire process before we started the company and while we are now operating, we still, as the founders, never met each other personally, which is another interesting situation. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And hopefully that'll be a lovely meeting when it happens.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you, Orest. So we have a couple of questions that we can answer. I think my colleagues are doing a really good job of getting through them, but there is one here that I think we can answer to Chi-Chun. Is there a difference to apply for e-residency between nationality? For instance, is it easier for a German citizen versus a Taiwanese citizen, for example? So no, there's no difference in eligibility, apart from, as Sergei said at the beginning, there are Russians and Belarusians can't apply for e-residency. But for every other nationality, it's an even process. The only thing that I would say is that it's with the pickup part of the application, where you need to go physically and give your fingerprints and show your photo ID and prove you are who you say you are in your application. We don't have a pickup location in Taiwan. So you would need to find a pickup location nearby. I don't know, for example, there is one in Tokyo. There's a Singapore mission, I think, and in Beijing. So it would be that would be the most difficult part as a Taiwanese citizen, if that's where you live, if you live in Taiwan. Whereas Germans have the Berlin embassy and also some consular missions in other cities as well.
I think it's also worth to add here that one of the processes of e-residency setup is the personality background check, which is conducted by Estonian police. So if you were involved in some human trafficking or the crimes against humanity, I mean, this will not pass as well. So yeah, but otherwise it would be pretty equal for everyone.
This is really true. Actually, we know of e-resident company owners who have told their business partners to get e-residency as a way to do a background check on them. So it can be a positive experience as well.
You know, I may clarify here. So I'm pretty curious in the situation that, as far as I remember, there were some limitations for companies to conduct business in, let's say, questionable countries like Syria, Myanmar, Venezuela, Turkmenistan, and so on. So even though the citizens of those countries are not limited to becoming an e-resident, how do you make things work here?
So this is true. Thank you, Orest, for bringing this up. There are countries that are on the blacklist or the grey list or other lists, sanctions lists, both economic and criminal sanctions lists, where it is really difficult for people who live there to get access to banking and financial services. So while they won't have a problem becoming an e-resident, as long as they are, a fit and proper person themselves, as you said before, and they probably won't have a problem registering a company if they can find a service provider to help them do it. They may have some difficulties with business banking, with getting a bank account for their business. So yes, we do caution people from countries that are on these lists. Do your research first, see if you can find both the service provider to help you form your company, and also see, first of all, before you go through any of the application process for e-residency, whether you can get banking services. So thanks for bringing that up. Okay, I think we should move on, because the time is moving on. And Sergei is going to now bring us to the business formation part of the webinar.
Right on. Well, so why do business in Estonia? Well, there are a few reasons, actually. One of the reasons is that Estonia is known to be a very simple jurisdiction. It's actually easy to do business, to run a company in Estonia. Another big factor is that, well, Estonia is part of the European Union and also part of NATO. So Estonia is a very trustworthy country in terms of, international acceptance. So yeah, having a company in Estonia is a kind of prestige thing as well. But also as an e-resident, having company in Estonia opens you up to many different opportunities. Like we have different government support programs, especially if you're in a startup, if you're tech industry or innovation, then Estonia is known to have many options like support programs and different entrepreneurship programs as well, where you can find help and also a lot of knowledge, because Estonia also has a lot of knowledge in tech development and innovation. And the last but not least, well, like I said before, eResidency has a large community of entrepreneurs where you can also find advice, help, you know, perhaps business partners, perhaps customers, and so on. And we did actually a very extensive research. We took some of the most popular jurisdictions where entrepreneurs register companies oftentimes, and we compared them to each other. You can find this table on the website and you can dig into it a little bit more. But just, you know, couple points to point out. Estonia is the country where company creation is like very fast and very simple. It's not in a matter of days, it's actually in a matter of hours, sometimes even minutes. I can probably do it in 20 minutes or so because I've done it many times. Another thing is that you don't need any assistance to create a company in Estonia. You don't need to hire a local director. You don't need to have a lawyer. You don't need to have any other assistant. You may if you want, but you don't have to. And also another thing is that Estonia by far is the most digital country in the world. So with a digital ID, with eResidency, you can access basically all of the necessary digital public services that you will need to comfortably manage your Estonian company. Well, and the last but not least, the Estonian tax regulations are very supportive and much simplified compared to others, you know, compared to other countries out there. So there are two ways to register a company. Once you become an e-resident, once your e-residency card is activated, you can either log into the electronic business register and you can do it all by yourself. You simply follow the steps on the application. But you can also get the help of a service provider that you can choose on the marketplace of service providers on our website. Same goes for running your company. You know, obviously with e-residency, you will have access to all the necessary public services and you will be able to sign documents digitally and you can do all the reporting by yourself. But you can also ask help from one of the service providers on the marketplace because, you know, sometimes navigating in a new jurisdiction can be a little bit tricky. So the marketplace is specifically for this, and I'll talk about it in the next slide as well. And the last on this slide, Ülane, you are not muted. Yeah, and the growth of your company. So basically, like I said, on our website, we have a lot of different articles, educational materials. We also have a YouTube channel with lots of educational videos. We have a specific funding page on our website where you can find information about all different kind of government support programs and different and entrepreneurship programs that may help you grow your company in Estonia. But also the community serves as a huge help, and we organize a lot of community events and meetups in different countries. Actually, next week on Saturday, we are hosting probably the largest community event in Tallinn. So if you happen to be here, then find information about this event on the website in the event section and sign up. And a few words about the marketplace. So marketplace is specifically designed to help you manage your Estonian company. Now, we as a governmental agency, we can't provide services directly, but we are happy to connect you with more than 140 different experts in this field, you know, so they can assist you with things like accounting and tax reporting and payroll and like you name it, right? Everything. You don't have to use these services. You can do everything by yourself, but the only service that's mandatory is that you have to have a local contact person for your Estonian company if you operate this company from abroad. Okay, this is just the law, and only a licensed service provider can be a local contact person for your Estonian company. Okay, so these services are not expensive. They can go as low as I think the lowest I've seen was like 10 euros per month. So not bad. There are different company types in Estonia, obviously, just like everywhere else. OÜ is by far the most popular business form, which is basically equivalent to a private limited company. OÜ means osaühing in Estonian language.
So nice to hear it from an Estonian.
Yes.
Normally I mess that up.
So it limits shareholder liability, and it's a simple online registration process. It's suitable for absolutely a wide variety of entrepreneurs, whether you are a sole trader or you are a startup or SME. And the share capital contribution, it starts from 1 euro cent. So it's pretty much nothing. And the estimated costs that you will face throughout your journey is 100 or 120 euro for the e-Residency state fee. The company creation fee, state fee is 265 euros.
That's a one-off fee.
It's a one-off fee, exactly. Well, the e-Residency is given to you for 5 years, then you have to renew it. The contact person service, like I said, it can be pretty cheap, but it can go up to a few €100 per year eventually. And a lot of times what you want to look for probably is service providers. They would typically pack it into a package together with different other services. Like, for instance, you can get accounting, you can get tax declaration, like tax reporting on your behalf, and basic legal or tax advice. They'll prepare an annual report for you, and they'll be your contact person as well. And that package can cost from 50 to a couple €100 per year. So it can be packed as well. So look for good deals. So the basic accounting, it starts from, I would say, probably 50 euros per month, and then it can go higher based on the amount of invoices you have every month. So I guess you're looking at some close to 600 euro kind of like startup cost if you want to do it by yourself in the first year. And if you want to take also some of the accounting services, then you can face probably around 1,200 euros annually. And then for business banking, we have several options. So one option is to open a bank account at one of the Estonian banks, which is not probably the best option these days right away, because Estonian banks, they want you to come and visit personally to verify yourself. And they are also looking to see a strong connection between your Estonian company and Estonia, which means that, for instance, if you have a real physical office in Estonia, if you hire locally, if you have some partners locally, then they will consider that you have enough connection, and then they'll open an account for you. Otherwise, they'll treat you as a risk customer, and most probably will not. So for that, good alternative is to use services of one of the fintechs that we have also on our marketplace. So we have Egor from Payoneer. He'll talk a little bit about services that they offer. And a third option would be to try to open a bank account at one of the local banks in your country if you live in a country that's part of the European Economic Area. That's also, it's not illegal, and sometimes they will do it, but it's not the most common case. Also on the website, you will find a comparison table for different banking options. I'm not going to stop here for a long time.
Yeah, this table is a very shortened version of a very much more detailed table we have on our knowledge base. So if you want to have a look at the fintechs and Estonian banks options, you can go onto our knowledge base and go into the business banking comparison part. And also you can read more about the pros and cons of each type of banking option for yourselves.
That's right. And I will want to introduce Egor here, or not introduce, but give a word to him so he can introduce what Payoneer can help you with, or help your company with. So Egor, please.
Thanks,
Let
Sergei.
us know when to change the slide, and I can.
Yeah, okay. So you can change. You can click to the next one from now. Yeah. So thanks for the word. Yeah, I've also introduced myself to those who missed that part because joined later. I'm the head of sales at Payoneer office in Ukraine. So we work with Ukrainian businesses who are exporters of services and products to the globe, actually all over the globe, and we are assisting them with their growth aims. Yeah, because as you all know, this is much easier in today's world to open the legal entity abroad, specifically in Estonia, as I told. And I would also say that probably for the last 7 years, yeah, for the last 5 years, what we see in terms of registrations, if we are talking about IT businesses, many companies, or bigger part of them, that we are onboarding are coming to us with legal entities in Estonia. So this means a lot, and many of them are using e-Residency. So in terms of Payoneer, we are a kind of aggregator of more like also we are the aggregator of banking services, but given this into more suitable format by the online page where you can access services of different top banks. So the first thing to mention is that we are a good fit for different type of companies, of different businesses, of different sizes, but mainly we work with SMBs. So those are SMBs. In my case, in the case of our team, those are SMBs from Ukraine, but Payoneer has a lot of offices over the world, and we work with different countries, different territories. So we can assist you first with product, and then as the next thing with network. So, but the main thing, yeah, this is a product. So we are assisting, and we are covering the very first issue that Sergei mentioned, by the way, is that as soon as you open the legal entity, it is an issue to open the real bank account without the substance, without the real office, real representatives, etc. And this is becoming tougher through the years, specifically as of now, due to our really bad situation in Ukraine. We have banks usually have really sophisticated compliance checks on UBOs and businesses. And if you are an online business, this will be easier for you to pass that compliance check. But if you're a kind of offline, I don't know, seller or manufacturer, this is even more complicated because you're not visible for their compliance. And in our turn, we have a bit of a different approach. We have, first of all, the local team in Ukraine who understand the business, and we are assisting our customers to pass all those compliance checks on our side. And our compliance is already set to work with those Ukrainian businesses, and they understand the specifics. So therefore, yeah, we're solving that first issue. You don't need a substance. You don't need to travel. As soon as you open a legal entity in Estonia, you can apply for a Payoneer account. The only thing we need as one of the part of verification is showing the bank account. But in the case when you don't have your company bank account, we are fine with your bank account, with the bank account of UBO or director. But in this case, it is important to mention that as if you don't have your company bank account, you are applying with bank account of UBO. It is important to connect with the team because in this case, we will need to onboard you in some kind of specific ways with like our local team or other teams in different offices of the world, depending on your location. They need to help you given the specific link. So that's a kind of, this is on the first slide, but let's move forward. Yeah, so this slide is to show more regarding the main products we give for the companies. So if we're talking about banking products, we're actually giving all that banks can give, except some specific and like complex products like crediting, etc. But we even have that. But the main thing we are giving is accesses to different bank details of different banks that are our partners, and those banks are actually worldwide known banks like Citi, like Barclays, like Bank of America, etc. So having the newly registered legal entity, you can apply for those top bank accounts that will give you additional trust in terms of in front of your customers, specifically in front of your new customers. And this is giving you more stability as a business, because sometimes, and we have even cases in the past with banks in Latvia, where like people were using small boutique banks, and those banks are really like sometimes losing licenses, unfortunately. And this is not as safe for a business to hold all eggs in one bucket. Therefore, we are a kind of one product, but with a good infrastructure, because given like different bank accesses to different banks within one product. So, for example, you are working when working and when applying for Payoneer account, you're receiving USD account, Euro account, GBP account, and all those details that we are given are in different banks. So this is nice to have, because, for example, USD account is in the Bank of United States. This is First Century Bank. Euro bank details are in Citibank. But this is not the real bank accounts for you in Citibank. This is just as a service provided to you within the functionality of Payoneer account. So this is important to mention, because some people think that like opening an account and receiving those details, meaning that they have real bank account in Citi. That's not, but in terms of functionality, that's the same. Yeah, so you have you're free to work with those details through like all over the world. So we have some local payments. So, for example, USD bank account, USD bank details that we give, they're receiving ACH. This is the same that works in Euro, which is called SEPA. So this is the same as SEPA, but for United States. And Euro account is accepting SEPA. So you can offer your customers the local and the most suitable payment rails that they used to work through with their local partners, with their local businesses. And this is really good. But at the same time, you can use SWIFT, so we also providing SWIFT details. And in terms of as soon as you receive those funds, you can use them as the like naturally, meaning send it to banks. You can send to the bank of your suppliers, of your partners, etc. Plus, we give additional functionality as a product company. So we can provide you with a card. We can provide you with internal payments between Payoneer accounts. So this is something that is bigger than bank can provide. So if your partners, if your team has Payoneer account, you can send them payments via internally from Payoneer to Payoneer with no fee as of now. So, and those payments are fast. And this helps different companies, specifically in today's world of like globalization, to have a suitable options to pay like at those countries wherever your team is staying, like one payment to Europe, one payment to Africa, one payment to somewhere else, and this is convenient. So this is all about receiving and paying out services. So this is more about card. We have virtual cards, we have physical cards. If we're talking about businesses, this is more about virtual cards. We have cards in different currencies. This is USD, Euro, GBP, and also Canadian dollars. But the most popular ones are the first three. If we're talking about businesses, we have cards with limits up to 200 USD per day. And this is specifically for digital advertising companies who are running like a lot of campaigns in Google Ads, in Facebook, etc. So they can easily use and substitute those cards for different campaigns, and this helps with like budget management, etc. Plus, if we are talking about contractors or like company employees, we can issue physical cards, and those cards are used as the regular card with giving the direct access to your funds and Payoneer balance. So that's also important to mention. Those cards are delivered in almost all the countries, in Ukraine as well. So the next one is we always give additional opportunities when we work with customers for a while. So, and we always say in customers that we are oriented for the long-term partnership. We call it partnership because, as I mentioned, we are always happy to share with our network of partners. You, by the way, also mentioned that you're doing this in e-Residency. So we do the same in Ukraine, in the Ukrainian Payoneer office. If you have a need to, if, for example, a company only has an Ukrainian legal entity, we can advise like any kind of advisors, because we build a great database of partners through 7 years here on the market. So we can help to start the company abroad, then we can help with bank details, with Payoneer product. And then like if you start working with us, we also provide additional options. And for example, this is one of them, this is working capital. So if company requests that, we can send the like application for the customer in order to check with our compliance, with our risk team, if we can grant them these kind of like capital in advance for some specific conditions that is discussed case by case. But in most cases, this is better conditions that local or some banks in specific countries can give, because we are using this globally and have different options to fulfill the request of customers given some specific amounts of money. So that's what customer gives gradually working with us through the years. So that's our aim. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. And another important thing, I will finish in a few minutes, but another important thing to mention is that what is really valued by customers is that we have local team. So as soon as we first speak to the customer, and if customer is ready to go with us, we are allocating the person, a specific person who will help from the stage of registration, verification, meaning all the documents and compliance things, with the further stages with first funds receiving, and then as soon as this is finished, customer like continues to work with us. We have customer success team who are also local people, and like through all the period of time of collaboration with us, you have the person who can assist, to whom you have really like simple access via phone, via some of messengers that you can use, and this is the person who can tell you where the funds are, if there is any problems, if there are any requests, and you are not only speaking to the chat, like to the to the support, as it is usually done when you're working with banks. So this is the last point about what we do and what we have for customers in Ukraine. So happy to answer to your questions. I think my team member Sergei, he is already responding to some of them, but We will also share some details, contact details that you can get in touch if you're the Ukrainian business and you have export business. Please reach out to us. We will help.
Thank you so much, Egor. Yes,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, Payoneer has been, I think, is one of our longest serving marketplace members. I think you were almost there from the beginning back in 2018. So the partnership with Payoneer has been long and very good. And we've seen a lot of e-resident businesses thrive thanks to having eResidency and an Estonian company and also Payoneer on their side. So yeah, please, I encourage everyone, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A tab now, and Egor and his colleagues can answer them. And I think there are a couple of questions in the Q&A that I just want to touch on before I go to taxes. One is it possible to establish a company with 3 co-founders from 3 different countries? From Alexandra, yes, absolutely. As you heard from Orest earlier in this webinar, it's absolutely possible, and actually, it's one of the best reasons to get a residency. Orest, maybe you can just emphasize this point from your experience.
Yeah, definitely yes. So in my case, we started to develop a travel tech company called Nomadmania, and we basically have 3 co-founders who 3 of those are from different countries. I'm Ukrainian, then there's a Polish guy, and a guy from Greece. And when we were considering where to set up a company, what would be the best scenario for all of us, considering a few conditions, it should be well integrated into the global market, meaning somewhere in the EU or another Western country. Second, it should be like as many as possible things have to be signed digitally. So that's like another reason. And third reason is probably like it has to be like a good fit, because sometimes people just make a company and they register it in some weird places in the offshore zones or the Caribbean islands, which doesn't make any sense as of like money laundering or just to do the paperwork. In our case, it also made a good fit because Estonia is a great country. It's geographically, mentally close. It's part of the EU. It's a digitally friendly company. It even appeared that one of our co-founders has a nephew in Estonia, so it all made sense together. And for people who live in different countries, the fact that you can do everything digitally is probably, it's a no-brainer as for me, So it was, one of the best solutions. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Orest. Okay, I'm going to move on to the taxes because we have limited time left. Okay, so the first thing I want to highlight with taxes is that when you're doing business in another country, you live in one country and you have a registered business in another country, you are going to have to deal with cross-border tax considerations. So concepts like permanent establishment, dual tax residency, and double tax treaties. These things, you need to get to know these terms and you need to have a look at them and you need to talk to experts about them because they will come up regardless of whether you become an e-resident and have a company in Estonia, but if you instead decide to have a company in another country. Or indeed, if you have a company in your own country, but maybe you have employees in another country, or you have lots of clients in another country. So I'm going to, first of all, just give a brief overview of the 4 types of taxes, the main ones, because there are others, but these are the 4 main ones to be aware of. Firstly, personal income tax. You will declare this where you're a tax resident. And as Sergei mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, e-residency won't affect this. E-residency is a digital identity. It's not any form of physical residency. So it won't change where you pay your personal taxes. The second type of taxes to be aware of are the corporate taxes. And generally speaking, these will be declared where your company is registered and or has a permanent establishment or other foreign tax liabilities. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Estonian tax system in a couple of slides, but just know that it's a little bit different than other jurisdictions. So I will talk about that soon. And in the next slide, I'll also go into a little bit more detail about what permanent establishment implies. The third type of taxes to be aware of are social taxes. And here, in different countries, there are different terms. So here I'm talking about things like pensions, superannuation, unemployment and employment contributions, labor contributions, labor taxes, these types of things. So these are the taxes that your company or your employees pay to the government for them to be employees of a company. So in general, these are declared where the employee is located or registered. And the fourth type of taxes to be aware of are value-added taxes, VAT. And here, specifically, I'm talking about VAT in Estonia and in Europe, because there are different forms of VAT in many countries in the world. And if you are dealing with customers in those jurisdictions, you would also need to look at those jurisdictions to see how they work. In Estonia, the general rule is that the VAT is payable where your end customer, a consumer or an individual, not a B2B, is located. But there are some streamlined programs in the EU that have been brought in the last few years called the One-Stop Shop and the Import One-Stop Shop initiatives. And they essentially say that subject to thresholds, so below certain value of products, online sellers of these products can declare them in the EU country where that seller is registered. So for example, if you have an Estonian company, you're selling goods under 150, worth under 150 euros to consumers in all over Europe, you can declare, and you do that online, you can declare that in Estonia, because that is where your Estonian company is registered and is VAT registered as well. But the EU have brought these in recently, and they are trying to bring in more streamlining of VAT. So let's watch this space. Hopefully it will get even more efficient in future. Okay, so let's talk about where e-residents pay company taxes, because this is a question we often get. Where will I pay my taxes? Or how do I pay my taxes in Estonia? So I'm hoping that I can give you some overview here on these topics. Firstly, when you register your Estonian company, it will automatically be considered a tax resident in Estonia. But if your company has activities in other countries, or most of its activities are done in another country, for example, if you're a solopreneur, you live in Germany, for example, and you do most of your work in Germany, most of your clients are in Germany, your business partners, these kinds of suppliers, everything. It's very, very, very likely that your company will have foreign tax liabilities in Germany, and you will need to declare a permanent establishment in Germany. The other thing is that e-residency is not tax residency, as we've mentioned a couple of times. So it won't exempt these foreign tax liabilities in Germany if we continue with my example. The good news, though, is that Estonia has many, many double tax treaties signed with Germany, with Ukraine, with other countries around the world. And so you won't be double taxed. If Germany, if the German tax authority can say to Estonia that they have the best argument that you pay your taxes in Germany, Estonia will exempt the tax here in Estonia from your company. So you won't be paying tax in both Estonia and Germany on the same profits, essentially. So yeah, as I said, you shouldn't be double taxed. And this is where we definitely say talk to a local tax consultant regarding your own specific situation, because it is very specific. It depends on many, many different facts and circumstances. So now I've given you kind of the bad news. Now I want to give you the good news, which is that Estonia for the last 10 years has been ranked the most competitive tax code in the OECD. It has minimal tax regulation and relatively low rates, not the lowest, but on the lower side compared to a lot of business jurisdictions. What is different about Estonia from other countries is that there is no annual corporate income tax. Instead, there is a 20% standard rate tax on distributed profits. Distributed profits are profits that you don't reinvest. So you provide like dividends to shareholders, or you use them for business payments. So if you reinvest your profits, you don't pay tax on profits. This is different from most other countries, really, where the minute you start earning revenue, you actually start owing taxes to the government. So that's something that is a huge benefit, especially if you're in early stage, if you're a small business, if you want to grow your capital for the first few years of your company being alive, before you start, say, giving dividends to shareholders or making huge purchases, these kinds of things. A quick note here that the tax rate, the standard rate of 20% will go up to 22% in 2025, but it will remain flat. VAT in Estonia, and this is only for supplies in Estonia, so only if you're selling to consumers in Estonia, is 22% also. It's mandatory to register your company for VAT if your revenue is over 40,000 euros in a year. And I've already mentioned these regimes in the EU to simplify VAT procedures, particularly if you're online seller to individual customers. In Estonia, taxes can be declared and paid online, and the EMTA, the Estonian Tax Authority, is extremely friendly, and they're good friends of eResidency. We're working with them on many initiatives to try and make things easier for e-residents, including providing information, guidance. We've also recently been testing a tax bot to help us provide some form of advice and overview. So watch this space. We will be asking for testers very soon, and the Estonian Tax Board has been involved with that. So these are some of the ways that we're trying to help you with a very difficult subject, at least have some idea of what's going on. So how can you, I told you about permanent establishment, I told you about dual tax residency, and then I gave you this really nice glossy sales pitch on Estonian taxes. It is possible to pay your company taxes in Estonia. There are just things that you would need to do, the structures that you would need to put in place for your business, for your Estonian business as an e-resident, where you have a very good argument that the company pays taxes here. Renting an office, for example, having a physical connection to Estonia, hiring employees, holding board meetings, very regularly, making very strategic, big decisions, spending time in Estonia as the director, registering assets. This could be physical assets. It could also be intellectual property. All of these things would be taken into consideration by a tax board to decide if you have the best argument to pay taxes here. Relocation is another option. This is particularly easy if you're European, because Estonia is part of Schengen. A little less easy if you're from a third country, although there are paths to visas, for example, the digital nomad visa, the startup visa, and some high net worth paths as well. And finally, become a digital nomad. When you're a digital nomad, this is actually quite a good way to have no sort of permanent establishment for your business, because you're traveling so much that no country can really grab. You might still be a personal tax resident in a country. You might register as a personal tax resident, so you can continue paying your taxes there. But from a corporate point of view, you have a much better argument to pay or not pay taxes in Estonia, given the system, if you're traveling a lot and no country has the has a say in your liabilities. So those are some of the ways. If you want to learn more about these different options, we do have this link to our website. And just one more thing on this slide before we end is that all of these things are also really good arguments to get bank account, an Estonian bank account. So if you have these types of connection to Estonia, that will also help you get an Estonian bank account. So that's all for the taxes. We're a few minutes over time, so I might just give this webinar 5 more minutes. I hope that's okay for our guests if we stay on for 5 more minutes, just to see if there are any questions that we can finally answer. And then I will show how you can get in touch with Egor and Payoneer Ukraine, and then also where you can find copies of slides and recordings for this webinar.
I can jump in while you're reading taxes, and since you finished on a digital nomad topic, I can tell that I'm representing this subculture. And actually, there was one of the questions in the Q&A section about when the person was asking like I'm a digital nomad, I travel the world, like where, to whom I owe, what should I pay, and so on. Yeah. So as Hannah just told that from the corporate standpoint, you don't have to pay anything more than is restricted within the jurisdiction. However, as a digital nomad, if you stay somewhere usually more than 183 days per year, as this person wrote in the comment, you might be liable to a local tax where you stay for this time. And there is like a logic behind it, because usually even in the visa-free countries, you cannot stay more than half a year consecutively without any additional documentation there, right? So for most countries, the person becomes liable for local tax residency if they stay more than half a year. So you just have to double check with that. Many of my peers who digital nomads, they don't stay more than 90 days in none of the countries, and they basically don't pay any local tax at all, even though I travel myself like very actively. I pay taxes in Ukraine from the personal tax, obviously, yes. But in the corporate one, I usually pay just VAT and some like additions for the one, let's say, they're possible to do like company spending that you cannot use as reinvestment reason. For those, you also have to pay I believe, like 22% tax since starting of this year. So yeah, but otherwise behind that, it's not. And if you are careful with your finances, it's possible to save a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, Orest. And yeah, just to add on to that, because we have a lot of digital nomads in our e-resident community who ask us, how can I pay no taxes, individual taxes? And there is a concept called perpetual traveler, which is where you travel enough that you're not tax resident anywhere, but it's very difficult to get. And the advice that we've heard from our tax partners, our tax lawyer partners, has been that maybe it's not the best option to go with. It's better to register yourself somewhere as a taxpayer, because in the future, if you're looking to, say, get a home loan or even a loan for your business or even a credit card, anything like this, if you don't have a history of paying taxes somewhere in the world, it can look bad when you're doing due diligence or getting a background check. So if you are a digital nomad and you're looking for a way not to pay taxes anywhere, maybe think about it with the future in mind. That's probably the last point I will say about taxes. It's something that I could talk about all day. And other than that, I think we can finish, because I think we're out of time, and the questions are pretty much all answered by our lovely colleagues from eResidency and Payoneer. So thank you guys for that. So the next slide I will show you is just to remind you that there will be a survey. We'd really, really love your feedback. Please give us that. It will take you less than a minute. You can, if you have more questions, if you feel like something comes up after this, please go to our subreddit. It's eResidency, or there is a Facebook group that we moderate called eResidents of Estonia, or you can also contact our support channels, and you'll find the support contact form on our website. And finally, apply if you're ready. We'd love to have you in the community. And if you're already an e-resident and you're looking at business, forming a business, let us know about it in our social media channels or in our support channels. We'd love to hear about it. Egor, do you want to say a few last words and tell people how people can connect with you?
Yeah, so actually we decided to share the QR code that we usually use for like really close communities where we have some close meetings or like offline meetings or webinars like this, where in order to give some kind of additional contact details to those customers who are new to us and want to use Payoneer services. So in terms of our like internal requirements, our team can take customers who are ready to work with us with 10K plus volume amount a month. So if you have those volumes or bigger ones, you can get in touch with us via that channel, and we will take you personally with consultation, with all further details in terms of work start. So yeah, that's it. We'll be happy to assist. Someone from my team will pick you up, and then hope for long-term partnership with everyone.
Thank you, Egor. Thanks, Payoneer, for being here. It's been really great having you and hearing more about the products you're providing to eResidency.
Thank you for the invite.
And then this is the final slide for eResidency, but I'm going, so you can find here a QR code that will take you to our website. In particular, it's a web page where you can download these slides. I've already put them up. And tomorrow or the next day, there should be a recording of the webinar as well, if you want to rewatch it, or you can go to our YouTube channel and find it there. Orest, Sergei, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's been great. And Orest, I'm going to give you the last word as the e-resident of the bunch. How did you find today?
So what can I say? E-residency make my life so much easier and better from the business standpoint. And in general, it saved me a lot of time and I believe a lot of money. So for those guys who are still might be on the fence or they're considering, just jump in. What's important here, even though you become an e-resident, you are not committed to do anything more, right? So you can just keep your card, and once you are ready to conduct business, just hop on and register a company. And registering the e-residency is the longest chunk of this process that before you actually start making money. So let it register, let it be over there ready for you to on the shelf. And once you come up with the things to move forward, you can just use it. But I mean, that's definitely something you should not miss out on.
Thank you so much, Orest. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're looking forward to welcome you into the community and meeting you in more webinars and events soon. So have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world.